Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm so happy that you're here. Today is Monday, so it is Grey's Anatomy and Makeup Monday. I'm so happy that you're here for another episode. On Mondays, I sit down, I play with makeup, I create a fun look, and I walk you through an episode of Grey's Anatomy. It marries together two of my favorite things, so I'm really excited to just get this chance to sit down with you guys once a week and share the things that I love. If that sounds like your thing, please consider subscribing down below. Bring that bell icon so that you can get notified every time I upload a video. I am uploading new videos on this channel right now every Monday and Friday at 2 p.m. Eastern. So if you're new here, welcome. Hello. Welcome to the Makeup and Grey's family. And if Grey's Anatomy isn't your thing, don't worry. On Fridays, I post a completely different type of video. But I'm just really happy you're here. I've started to build a very, very small community of people that are into makeup and Grey's Anatomy on this channel. It's been really exciting to meet you guys, and I'm looking forward to just getting to know you a little bit better. If you'd like to join in on the fun, please consider subscribing. And if you like this video, don't forget to hit that like button. It really does help my channel. It helps other people to find these videos. It means a lot to me whenever you do that. And say hello in the comments. I love meeting you guys. And let me know if you want to see more videos of this type, if you are interested in, I don't know, commentary on other TV shows. I'm watching WandaVision right now. I watch a lot of TV in general. I'm a big fan of all things entertainment. So if you like these videos and you want to see more of this stuff, let me know, because I'm just having a lot of fun. I'm just gonna get right into it. Oh my gosh, you guys, today was the first sunny day that we've had in what feels like forever. Literally, we haven't had a single sunny day in like at least a week. Probably. So I had such a good time just like sitting outside on the porch with my laptop during work today. And then I took the dogs to the dog park at the end of the day, and it was sunny until like 7 p.m. It was insanity. It was just so nice, and it was 70 degrees. And my skin is finally starting to behave again. I had such a bad breakout from a bad product last week. Like, I think actually it was a couple of bad products. They were just so heavily fragranced, and I don't know what it was, but my skin freaked out. It's finally starting to get back under control, thank goodness, because it was getting rough in there for a minute. We also had a lovely Valentine's Day this week. It was so nice. We just spent the day at home, made dinner, we cooked, we hung out, we went to the aquarium, which was super fun. We haven't been to the aquarium out here, and so we really like to go to the aquarium or the zoo. It's one of the things that we did super early when we started dating, and it was super fun. We would actually go to these beer festivals at the zoo. You can walk around, try a bunch of different beers, and go look at the animals. It was a really nice date night, and so we decided to kind of recreate that. We went to the aquarium on Sunday, and then we came home and made dinner, and it was just really nice. It was just really nice to just have a nice night in. I don't know that I missed going out. I'm normally not like that, but I actually don't think I missed going out basically at all. And even though we've been at home doing the same thing every day for a year, it still felt really special. It was nice to get a little bit dressed up, do my hair, put on nice makeup, just spend really quality time together. It was really nice. I really enjoyed it. I hope you guys had a good Valentine's Day too. I'd love to hear what you guys did to celebrate, if you guys celebrated, because I really like Valentine's Day. I think it's fun to celebrate. So this week's episode is season 1, episode 3, and the title of this episode is Winning a Battle, Losing the War, which I'm gonna be real honest, I don't know exactly how that title plays into this episode. It didn't really make sense to me, if I'm being completely honest, but we're gonna go with that. You know, they're sticking with their theme of using song titles as titles for their episodes. To recap, Meredith Grey is our main character, and she's a surgical intern at Seattle Grace Hospital, and she works there with a few other interns, George, Christina, Izzy, and Alex. And in the end of the last episode, Meredith agreed to let George and Izzy move in with her since she lives in this really big house. It's actually the house that she grew up in. It's her mom's house, but her mom isn't living there because her mom has Alzheimer's. But it's a big secret that her mom has Alzheimer's. Nobody else actually knows. She's keeping it to herself. So she's living in her mom's house, basically the house that she grew up in, and she decided to let Izzy and George move in with her since she has all this space and she needs roommates. In the first episode, we established that Meredith has this big flirtation with the new neurosurgeon. So he's the brain surgeon. But when they met and they hooked up, they didn't realize that they were going to be working together. Somehow that didn't come up in their interaction, that they actually worked at the same place. And so they had already hit it off, and then all of a sudden they found out, oh shit, we work together, this is a problem. They have this huge big flirtation going, and it's very much like, will they or won't they? I feel like it's important to remind everyone that he is in fact her boss. So still not encouraged. You should not date your boss. Meredith has been trying to, keep the boundaries, but she did kiss him in the last episode and has continued to flirt with him. So, I mean, she's got like the best of intentions, but she's not doing a really great job of like keeping the boundaries, And in the last episode, we found Dr. Burke, who is the attending heart surgeon. He's a total jagweed. We do not like this character. He's very, very selfish. He's very like self-absorbed, very snobby, and he's totally obsessed with becoming chief. But as I said, he's the worst, and nobody really thinks that he's cut out for the job. So the current chief, Richard Weber, brought in Derek, the neurosurgeon who keeps flirting with Meredith. He brought Derek in to replace him as chief whenever the chief retires. Burke is very, very upset about this, and nobody else is. And that's what you missed on Glee. Okay, so let's get into the new episode. The episode opens with Meredith asleep in her bed in her house, and Izzy is standing over her, and she wakes Meredith up by arguing with Meredith that she should have the bigger room in the house because she has more clothes. Meredith just shoots awake and is super annoyed, and her voiceover starts talking about how you shouldn't make friends with the enemy, which at the end of the last episode, she was talking about the power of friendship. So I'm like, which one is it? We've definitely like flipped from the end of the last episode to the beginning of this episode, so it does not seem to be going well. Meredith ends up getting up, they have to go to work, and Izzy and George just keep following Meredith around the house being like, no, I should have the bigger room, no, I should have the bigger room, and Meredith is just doing her best to ignore them, like really isn't having it. I mean, these are adults and they're arguing over who should have the biggest room, and so Meredith just kind of ignores them. Bailey, who's on her way to work, Bailey is standing on the corner of the hospital with McDreamy. McDreamy is the neurosurgeon, in case we all forgot. Bailey and McDreamy are standing on the sidewalk, and Bailey is like, what did I forget? I'm forgetting something today. What is it? What am I forgetting? And all of a sudden, all of these cyclists blaze by. These are bicyclists, not motorcyclists or anything. They're on bicycles, but they blaze by super, super fast, and they're being really reckless. And Bailey has to pull McDreamy off the curb because he nearly gets hit by one of these cyclists, and she like basically saves him, and she goes, oh, it's the day of the race. It's this annual thing that happens in Seattle. It's called the Dead Baby Bike Race, and it's this underground bike race where bike messengers bike against traffic to compete for free tequila shots at this bar that's at the end of the race or whatever. And apparently the only rule that they have is that you can't rip out the eyeballs of another racer. So they're kind of setting the scene to like, hey, these guys are crazy and they're definitely going to be dangerous. And so when all the interns arrive to work, Bailey is giving them the 411 and saying that there's going to be a lot of carnage, a lot of people injured, and they have to spend the day in the ER, in the pit, just taking care of people who get injured from this dead baby bike race. And all the interns are super excited. They're almost rabid thinking about how exciting it's going to be to treat patients with real injuries, especially Christine. So they're all just like clamoring to get to patients. And I mean, it's kind of one of the fun dynamics of the show that instead of it always being like, oh my God, people are hurt and it's tragic. Like, yes, it is tragic, but you also get to see the surgical interns' reactions when they're like, oh my God, I actually get to do something cool, because that's what they went to school for, which is kind of messed up if you think about it. Like, okay, you went to school because you want to cut people open and fix them. And so of course that type of person is going to get really excited about these really messed up injuries. They're going to get really excited about people getting hurt in a way. Like, they're gonna fix them. It's not like they're psychopaths. But so Meredith immediately finds a patient. They're rolling it, and it's a lot of chaos in the ER. And Meredith sees a guy whose name is Viper. She and Alex both see him at the same time, and they race over, and they're like fighting over this patient. Gotta have him, because this guy has bike spindles like sticking out of his abdomen. So he's just sitting there like chilling, and he's got these spindles sticking out of him. And of course, Alex and Meredith are both both like, hello, this is my patient. So they fight over this guy. And by the way, this guy is kind of like a hotter David Tennant. It's like a really hot David Tennant. I actually am not entirely sure that it's not David Tennant. This guy's smoking hot, he's British, and he just wants these spindles taken out so that he can get back to his race. Alex, being frustrated that Meredith won't let him just have this patient, just walks over to him and rips the spindles like out of his stomach. Just straight up rips him out, doesn't check anything, doesn't anesthetize the guy, he just rips him out. And the British guy, Viper, is like, cool, can I go? And Alex is like, yeah, Meredith, just let him go. Just sew him up and let him go. And I'm like, hey, Alex, you're not Meredith's boss. You wanted this patient so bad. Why don't you do it? But hey, that's just me. That's just my opinion. Today's tea is Youth Berry, and I am using my topic appropriate mug today. So Alex basically tells Meredith like, hey, you go deal with him. You need to go just sew him up and send him on his way. So Alex goes off and does his thing, and Meredith stays with Viper. And meanwhile, Christina and Izzy have also managed to find a patient. They find themselves on the same case with this guy who ends up actually being brain dead. So they have to run a bunch of tests on the guy to confirm that he's actually brain dead, and then the policy says they run these tests, and the tests confirm, then they wait 6 hours, they give him 6 hours until he can officially be declared dead. And one of the challenges that they have with this guy is that he's a John Doe. He doesn't have his ID, they don't know who he is, he doesn't have anything on him to help them contact his family. So it's a pretty upsetting situation, and this guy was not a participant. He was just a guy on the sidewalk that one of the bikers hit, and now the guy is brain dead. Pretty upsetting, honestly, and Izzy's taking it pretty hard. Izzy's having a really hard time with it, and she starts going through his things, and she realizes that the guy has new sneakers. Someone repaired the tear in his shirt. She's like, he belongs to someone. This is someone that is being cared for, and we should try to find his family. Christina is pretty upset that this isn't actually a surgical case, which I get, but it's still kind of messed up, until she realizes that this guy would be a great organ donor. This guy could potentially save a lot of people's lives. Once Christina realizes that this guy could be an organ donor, Izzy is still pretty upset, but realizes that this could give purpose to this guy's life. So George in this episode, actually at the beginning, he volunteered to help out the chief for the day. So instead of being down in the pit, helping everybody with all of the carnage from the bike race, George volunteered to help out the chief, which honestly sounds like a great gig. You're helping out the chief, probably on the best cases in the hospital, right? Well, the chief actually is in surgery all day, and he just needs George to run his pre and post ops, which I guess is kind of a boring job in this world, because George, as soon as he hears what the chief needs him to do, he's actually super not excited about it. One of the reasons that he needs someone really dedicated to that is because the chief has a VIP patient. It's one of his oldest friends. The chief has been this patient's doctor for 20 years. And really, he just needs, special VIP treatment. And when George goes to check on him, this guy is literally lighting a cigarette. He is literally smoking it up in his hospital room. Does not give a fuck. He's waiting for a new liver. So this guy has had liver failure for a very, very long time, and he's at the top of the transplant list. But he's basically lost all hope. But what this guy does have is a huge crush on George. And this guy is so charming and so sweet and just really, really likes George. But, George isn't gay. But George handles it pretty respectfully. He's a little caught off guard, but this guy is super charming and sweet, but he's just given up hope. He's given up hope that anything good is going to happen. And, he's kind of just waiting to die at this point. So back with Meredith. Meredith is still with Viper. So Alex at this point has decided that he's going to go and try to find his own case. He's decided that Viper just isn't interesting enough for him. And Meredith is sewing him up, sewing up his wounds in his abdomen from pulling the spindles out. And Viper is extremely flirtatious. And this guy's super cute. Like I said, hot David Tennant, right? Meredith gets him all stitched up and she really wants to take him to get a CT scan. to be sure that he doesn't have any internal bleeding or anything. But this guy's like, nah, just sew me up. I'm gonna be fine. Send me on my way. I'm gonna go win my race, and you should totally come meet me at the end of the race. Like, hey girl, there's a party. Wanna come to the party when you're done with work? And Meredith is like, no. So she's like, hey dude, like if you leave, you're leaving against medical advice. You got to sign this AMA form. Like we can't be held responsible. I'm telling you, you need to get checked out. And this guy's like, nope. So the guy signs his form. He gets up to leave. And as he's leaving, he grabs Meredith and he just plants one on her. And she's like standing there like, oh my God, what's happening? And of course, who is standing at the window and sees the entire thing but good old McDreamy himself. And Meredith just turns around, sees him in the window, seeing everything that's going on. And Derek is like, what? So you kiss everyone now? You just kiss patients too? He pokes a ton of fun at her, but he can't be that hurt because he immediately takes the opportunity to ask her out on a date again. And she's like, no, you're still my boss. I have a lot to prove here, and I don't want to mess that up by going out with you. So no, I am not doing it. And like, good for her, like setting her boundaries and saying like, hey, I can't go out with you. My job is more important. I keep telling you no. And like, dude, you're being kind of rude, you know, respect the lady's boundaries. So back with Izzy and Christina and their brain dead patient, they try to convince Bailey to let them try and arrange for organ donation, but they can only do it if they're able to locate his family. So they can't arrange for any organ donation without any ID, without any consent, without understanding if that's actually what the patient would have wanted. So Izzy goes and she's just feeling really, really low about the whole thing. And she goes and sits in the patient's room. You know, he's completely out. He's brain dead at this point. And she goes and sits in his room and she just talks to him. She's like, hey buddy, like you got to try and get better for me. There are people out there who love you. You know, it's almost like a prayer. And she's just sitting with him and, you know, really just talking with him. And it's a very sweet moment, but the guy can't hear her, obviously. And as she's sitting there with him, talking to him, the patient crashes. He starts to completely flatline. At this point, they're not really supposed to save him. He's brain dead. And so protocol says that, hey, if he starts to code, you let him go. You don't put a lot of resources into saving this guy at this point. But she really wants him to have, you know, the most chances that he can possibly have. And so she pulls Meredith in and is like, hey, you gotta help me save this guy. And Meredith is, you know, kind of waffling. She's like, I don't think you're supposed to. But Izzy says, hey, you know, it's only been 5.5 of the 6 hours that we gave him. Like, he deserves all 6 hours. We're looking for his family. Help me save this guy so that we can try and see if he wakes up and save his life. So they go ahead, they save the guy, they give him additional medicine, they get him to stop coding, but they realize that the guy has a heart condition that needs to be operated on if he is going to survive, and if he's going to make it at least to organ donation. But Izzy's still holding out hope that this guy actually lives, right? So they have to convince Dr. Burke, my favorite, to operate on this patient that they're really not even supposed to be operating on. And so Meredith and Christina actually go and find Dr. Burke in the bathroom, and they kind of accost him while he's going to the bathroom. And he gets pretty upset with them that they went and they breached protocol and they broke the rules yet again to save this guy when they weren't supposed to go to those extreme measures. So Burke refuses to help them, which is totally typical. But they then are like, hey, there are other attendings at this hospital who may have some ideas on how we can save this guy's life. So they go to Derek. And Derek is much less of a rules guy. If you hadn't picked up on that yet, he's less of a rules guy. And so Derek is like, well, you know, you could just go to the chief. And that is actually a brilliant plan because guess what? This John Doe is a blood match for the chief's VIP. So the guy, Michael, that needs a liver, lo and behold, there's this John Doe in the hospital who would actually be the perfect donor to save this guy's life. So Meredith and Christina go to the chief and they ask permission. Hey, let us save this guy. Make Burke do the operation to save him and we can save your friend in the process. And the chief approves it. And of course, the chief approves it. You know, he says, hey, this is actually a good reason to do it. We can save my friend's life. We can save a lot of other lives. You know, the chief is a good person, but he also has, you know, his own interests at heart. And so Burke does the surgery, but he takes Alex with him as a punishment to the others for breaking the rules. You know, he won't let them scrub in on the surgery. He takes Alex with him, which is fine. Everyone's watching in the gallery. And while they're watching in the gallery, a nurse comes in and says, hey, we found the guy's wife. We did it. She's here. We found him. And Izzy is so excited. Actually, like, everyone is super excited. This guy's wife, this John Doe's wife arrives, and it turns out that his name is actually Kevin. And she had been looking for him all day. You know, he had been missing. They had no idea what had happened to him. And obviously, it's pretty upsetting. They let her know that he is confirmed to be brain dead, and Izzy lets her know that he is a perfect candidate for organ donation, that this could mean that his life could mean something. But Izzy's still, you know, she's also pretty upset about it. And while Izzy is talking to the wife and letting her know that this could be an option for them that they need to consider, and they need to consider it fast because there's really such a short window for organ donation. In the meantime, the chief and George go to talk to Michael and let him know that after all this time, they finally found him a liver. And Michael just breaks down in tears. He holds George's hand and he's so excited. He can't believe that his life might actually be saved. You know, this guy had no hope at the beginning of the episode, and now he has a little bit of hope. So at this point, it's the end of the day. Meredith is in the locker room, getting changed, ready to go home. Honestly, it's been a pretty weird day for her. You know, a stranger kissed her, her boss hit on her again. She started off the day with roommate issues. It's been kind of a rough one if you think about it. So she's just ready to go home. And of course, Alex is in the locker room with her, being super, super obnoxious. He's being all braggy about his big ol' heart surgery with Dr. Burke, and he's like, oh, you smell me? Yeah, you smell me? I smell like open heart surgery, and it's awesome. Smell me, Meredith. You should smell me. And he like walks up behind her and he wraps his arms around her and like starts like cuddling her and trying to hit on her. And she is like over it. She is like, absolutely not. She grabs him by the collar and she shoves him against the lockers. And she's like, are you freaking kidding me? I have so much to deal with right now. I have roommate problems. I have boss problems. I've got boyfriend problems. I've got mom problems. I don't need you to be a problem too. Like, you're such a D-bag, get out of my face. And of course, while she's got him pinned up by the collar against the lockers, who walks in? But of course, McDreamy himself. He just walks in and he sees the whole thing. Like, seriously, this guy is freaking everywhere. I don't know what it is, but whenever something is happening, there he is. He sees the whole thing, and Meredith immediately drops her hands, goes back over to her locker, and is like, great. This is exactly what I didn't need. I didn't need this guy like to have more reasons to think that I'm spiraling out of control or whatever. And Meredith goes back over to her locker and is just like, you know, head down, trying to avoid him. And McDreamy looks at Alex like, hey dude, what the heck happened? And Alex is like, I don't know, man. She just attacked me. The audacity of this guy. Like, he's like, I don't know, she just attacked me. And Meredith flips out again and like goes after him again. And McDreamy steps between them and keeps her away from him. And Derek basically looks at Alex and is like, get out of here before I let her beat you up with her tiny, ineffectual fists. Which is one of my favorite lines, I think, from the TV show ever. And Alex just like books it out of there. He's like, hell no, I am not dealing with this shit anymore. Deuces. And Derek just looks at her. He clearly thinks it's like the most hilarious thing ever. And they kind of just stand there making eyes at each other, and you can totally tell like they just want to jump each other's bones. And Derek has like all these unsaid words that he wants to say to Meredith, and she just stands there and being frustrated. Seriously, like, I don't blame her. I don't blame her for flying off the handle at him. I can't say I would have done anything different, especially after, like, how many times should a girl get hit on by her coworkers in one day before she just loses it? I'm just saying. Anyway, after the whole locker room debacle, Meredith goes home, and she's just had like the longest day possible at this point. And she gets home, and Izzy and George are there, and they're going through all of these boxes. There are a ton of boxes around the house that are actually Meredith's mom's from when she was growing up. Her mom is living in a nursing home now, so Meredith, like I said, has taken over the house. She's living there now. And George and Izzy are just going through shit, which would piss me off so freaking much. I would be so irritated if someone did that in my space. They're very much, what's yours is mine, and we live here now, so we're gonna go through your stuff. And what did they find? They found Meredith's mom's old surgical tapes, and Meredith's mom is like this surgical legend, right? So they're so excited. They want to watch all of her old surgeries. They think they're all gonna braid each other's hair and order pizza and have this really fun time watching these surgical tapes. But Meredith has had like the worst day in history, and so she just freaks out and is like, no, get out of my stuff, stop touching everything, like mind your own business, stop it. And, you know, like, I get it. I get, like, wanting to move in and get to know the people that you're living with and feeling like, hey, this is my home too. And I don't know that I would have reacted so harshly, but I also really don't like it when people go through my stuff, you know? So I kind of get where Meredith was coming from, where she's just like, I can't deal with any more of your shit today. I'm sorry, this dog is, like, going crazy right now. So Meredith takes back all the tapes and she, like, goes to her room and she slams the door and is like, guys, you gotta fucking chill. The next day, the interns are still dealing with a lot of the leftovers from the bike race. So there's still a lot of patients that are in the hospital. And then there are also people that got injured in the race the day before that, you know, because they're busy being badasses in the race or whatever, they actually decided that they weren't going to go in and get help. So they're all coming in the next day. So that's what the interns are up to. And Christina and Bailey are with Kevin's wife, the guy who is brain dead. They're with his wife and she's signing all of the papers for the organ donations. And when you do this, they ask you about each individual organ. They say, hey, are you comfortable with donating his corneas? Are you comfortable donating his liver and his kidneys and his heart? Like, you have to sign over for each individual organ. And at what point, Christina's asking her, hey, do you want to donate his skin? And the wife just kind of loses it. And she's like, his skin? Like, how am I supposed to bury him? How am I supposed to have a funeral? How am I supposed to let people say goodbye? Do you really want my daughter to see him like that? And she just breaks down. And I mean, I really get it. Grief is not a predictable thing and everyone deals with it differently and can only imagine what that conversation would be like. And she completely breaks down and Christina just freaks out. She can't handle it. She just gets up and leaves. She just straight up gets up and leaves. She leaves the room and she goes out and Bailey follows her and Bailey's like, hey, what's your problem? You need to get back in there. And Christina's like, I can't talk to patients' families. Like, I can't do this. This is really hard. I'm not good at this part of the job. And Bailey's like, hey, like, it's okay. What's this guy's name? Just think about him as a real person and go with that. So Christina goes back in and, you know, she works with the wife to get the rest of the papers. Meanwhile, George is getting Michael ready for his liver transplant. Michael actually he's got a smile. He's got a lot more happiness because he's actually going to get his liver. And Michael asks George out on a date. George is very, very sweet and very, very awkward. And he's like, doesn't want to hurt his feelings. And he's like, hey, I'd love to go on a date with you, but I'm not gay. Michael is like, I know you're not gay. I've known the whole time. Of course you're not gay, but I have this new lease on life. I'm not going to hold back how I feel about things anymore. I'm just going to go and I'm going to live and I'm going to do what I want. And so if I see a cute guy, like, I'm going to ask him out, and it's okay that you're not gay and it's okay that that's not your thing, but he's just got this whole new lease on life and he's not going to hold back. And it was just this sweet moment and George really got it. And it was just nice to see this patient like finally have his hope back. So this guy, you know, of course he knows that George isn't gay. And they have a good laugh about it. And then Michael asks George if he has a lady or if he has a crush on anyone. And George is all sheepish and doesn't want to talk about it. And Michael presses him and he's like, no, seriously, you know, who is it? Who do you like? Like, how are you spending your life? You should spend it, you know, with someone that you love and that you care about. And George responds that he loves Meredith. Baby angel. My poor baby angel. There could not be a worse person for him to have feelings for at this point. Izzy is in the scrub room with Christina. They're both getting ready for surgery and all of these different surgeons are there to harvest the organs from Kevin. So it takes a lot of different surgeons and then those surgeons take them to their hospitals to go and save their patients. And so Izzy is still really upset that Kevin didn't wake back up and she's like, I can't watch these vultures pick him apart. And she's still really upset and just kind of not getting that this is a sad ending, but it's also a really positive ending because other people get to live because of his sacrifice. Christina, in a moment of tenderness, reminds Izzy of that. She reminds Izzy that every single person standing in that room represents someone that is going to get that second chance in life because of Kevin, because of what they're doing in that room. So this seems to comfort Izzy a lot, and so she decides that she is going to scrub in after all. She ends up waiting until the end of the surgery and is the last one standing in the OR with Christina, and Izzy takes the time to sew him back up carefully so that his family can go and see him one last time. So down in the pit, Viper is back. If we remember, he's that hot David Tennant looking guy from the beginning of the episode that Meredith was trading. And he's back and he's sitting in the lobby and he's clearly not doing so well. Like, he's kind of holding his stomach. He's looking really sweaty and just not looking like he's doing super hot. Meredith sees him in the lobby and she's like, "Hey, Viper, what's Viper doing back here?" And all of a sudden, he just collapses on the floor. She rushes over and immediately starts checking his abdomen, starts checking the wound, and she lifts up his shirt, and literally it looks like his intestines are like spilling out of his body. It's wide open, and he is not okay. It's pretty gruesome. Meredith immediately calls for a gurney. She calls for help. They get him up onto a gurney, and she's literally like straddling him, holding the wound together while riding the gurney, and Alex is pushing, and she's like yelling at him like, "You have to push." And honestly, because it's kind of a little bit his fault, because he's the one that put the idea into the patient's mind that he could just like get sewn up and sent on his way and everything would be fine. So I'm glad that Alex is actually there to see that this guy is totally not fine. So they wheel him up to the OR and Bailey scrubs in to help get this guy okay. Bailey and Meredith are able to save him, but just barely. The guy is really having a hard time. He's really suffering, and he's going to have a long recovery. Bailey and Meredith go into the lobby to tell Viper's friends like what's going on, and they're all sitting there like laughing and cracking jokes and just like, "Oh, hey, is he going to be okay?" And Bailey just like loses it, right? She absolutely loses it because she's like, "Hey, you guys are dumbasses and people are going brain dead because of your bad decisions. Like, no, he's not going to be okay. A lot of these people aren't going to be okay because you guys are out there doing dumb shit." So she just kind of loses it on them and she walks away, and Meredith turns to them and she's like, "Yes, he's gonna be okay. You can go see him." When did my earring fall out? Jeez, my earring was just like on my hair. When did that happen? Back in the locker room, Meredith is ending her day and Derek goes and finds her again. And he opens up to her and he just says, "Hey, with us, it's not all about the chase. It's more than that. This isn't a game. It's your tiny, ineffectual fists. It's your hair, and you're bossy, and it keeps me in line." And he's being all romantic and really sweet and cute. And I'm like, all right, cool. But you also only went on one date where you didn't talk about where you worked. So I don't know how you feel like you could have this amazing connection with her, but it is like a really cute moment. And by the end of it, you're like, yeah, okay, it's hot in here, dude. But Meredith still refuses to go out with him, which, like, the restraint on this woman. She says no, she won't go out with him, but she says it in a way that's like, that she's definitely gonna go out with him, right? Like, you just kind of know. It's the very end of the episode. She goes home and she walks in and she finds Izzy, George, and Christina this time sitting around the living room eating pizza, and they're playing one of the surgeries on tape. But this time, Meredith doesn't freak out. She's just like, all right, I'll join you. And she sits on the couch and she hangs out with them, watching her mom's old surgeries, and something about the power of friendship again by the end of this episode. So I'm glad that we've come full circle on that. That's the end of the episode, guys. This is the best episode that we've had so far in terms of just diving into like really good stories. I had the most fun telling this story out of all the stories that I've been able to tell you guys thus far. I really enjoy sitting down and making these videos every week. It's been a lot of fun. We are 99 subscribers strong, which is crazy. It's the middle of February and my goal was to have 100 subscribers by the end of February. So we're super close. It's not about the subscribers. It's just about sitting down and enjoying what I'm doing and doing something creative, playing with makeup, and hopefully connecting with a lot of you who have the same interests. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you liked this video, please don't forget to leave me a like down below. And if you haven't yet, please consider subscribing. It really means a lot to me, and I love meeting you you guys down in the comments, so please feel free to leave me a message down below. I post new videos on this channel every Monday and Friday at 2 p.m. Eastern. Thank you guys so much for watching. It really means a lot to me, and I will see you soon. Bye.